Welcome to the Good News Show, brought to you by PreKure.com, where prevention is cure. I'm Professor Grant Schofield, the host of the Good News Show. The Good News Show is brought to you as a response to mainstream bad news. News built for your reptilian midbrain. Bad news which makes you feel anxious and frankly gives you very few tools, actually no tools, about what to do to have a good, engaged life, which is the whole point of being on the planet. So, the Good News Show is designed with your frontal lobes in mind. That part of you which makes you uniquely human, that part which sets you forward on the way to a good life. So good news, breaking news is scientists have just discovered that you can fully take control of what was previously thought to be your autonomic or automatic nervous system. It's now completely in your control.
I know Kung Fu.
To dial down stress, all you need to do is breathe deeply and slowly through your nose and out your nose. The reason this works and is so powerful, it invokes a thing called the baroreflex. You're going to see an automatic down-regulating of the sympathetic nervous system and an up-regulating of the parasympathetic. You're going to feel cool and calm. And for those of you old enough out there, this is why your grandmother used to say to you, darling, before you say anything, take a few deep breaths. Allow that reptilian midbrain to come under control of the frontal lobes and do something sensible with your life. And there's more to it than that, because scientists have also discovered that when you breathe through your nose, you increase nitric oxide in the nasal cavity. It's a potent vasodilator. It allows the heart rate to come down, lets the blood vessels to expand. It allows you to relax and chill. You can add to that by doing this in nature. The sounds of running water, waves, rain on the roof, being outside seems to help with that as well. And we'll cover some of that again in the weather forecast at the end of the Good News Show. The second bit of breaking news is that alcohol sales have gone up 400% in lockdowns in Australia and New Zealand. That's not necessarily good news, but I'm reporting it because I think there may be some misunderstanding of what we mean by a bubble. The instruction was to go into your bubble, not to drink more bubbles. So we just get that right out there. The instruction was not drinking bubbles, but going into your bubble. Why are we thinking about alcohol? Well, we're not against alcohol, but when we're starting to think about sleep and alcohol, there's a fair bit of new scientific discovery going on. Some breaking news here, and good news is that when we start to think about this, we might moderate our alcohol a bit more. How are we going to do that, and why are we going to do that? Well, let's start with the why. So when you have some alcohol, it bangs up the neurotransmitter GABA in your brain. It's an inhibitory neurotransmitter. It calms you down. You need that to get to sleep. You initially feel calm, relaxed, and sleepy. That's really good. Alcohol helps you get to sleep. The trouble with it as a strategy, it doesn't allow another neurotransmitter, the excitatory one, glutamate, to come back, which you need for dream sleep. So you don't experience the same level, if any, dream sleep if you're going to bed with a few bubbles under the hood. So therefore, the quality and the important quality of dream sleep is thinking, remembering, reorganizing information, neuroplasticity. That's the important part of dream sleep. So alcohol turns that off. So the breaking news here, and the good news here, is you can have a much better night's sleep if you don't drink immediately around bedtime. So if you're going to have something, have it before dinner. Maybe that's a better way of it being well out of your system 3 hours later when you hopefully go to bed. Have dinner at a reasonable hour, folks. That's the breaking news. So we're going now to our locations of interest. And the location of interest tonight is beautiful Waihi Beach in New Zealand. And what's happening at Waihi Beach at the moment? Well, one of our viewers, we've had contact with her down there. This is Dee Sisson and her husband, and she's reporting the following. Nice one, team. All good news from Western Bay of Plenty here at Waihi Beach. And we've been long time on the sidelines procrastinating about doing something about our type 2 diabetes, the hubby and I. We've just started a 30-day challenge. We're at day 25. We're previously experiencing very high blood glucose, over 14 for both of us, and on insulin for our diabetes. At day 25, I can report that we're down to blood sugars of 6s and halved our medications. We've lost 7.5 and 4.5 kgs. Best part is the levels dropped with 24 hours of starting, and we're feeling great. So good news from the Bay of Plenty. Waihi Beach, if you haven't seen it, get amongst it. Great place to go once we're all free to go there. That's the location of interest. Now, we've got a number of new cases appearing across Australia and New Zealand at the moment. We're going to go to our behaviour change and psychology correspondent, Dr. Louise Schofield. Let me admit her into the show now. Here she comes. This is our psychology correspondent coming in. Well, good evening, Louise. You're out and about there at the moment. What are you seeing out there as far as new cases are concerned?
Oh, well, actually, Grant, my glasses are all fogged up. It's quite hard to be wearing a mask and have your glasses fog up. So I'll take those off and now I'm blind. Now, look, what I'm seeing out here in the field today, well, on the bridge as the case may be, is that you're actually able to inoculate yourself against bad news.
How is that possible?
Search your feelings, Lord Vader.
Have you heard about that?
How is that working, Louise? What do you mean by inoculation? Is this some sort of new vaccine that's come to the world?
It certainly is, and it's called the one-day method. Now, what's happening is things can be a little bit sucky at the moment. I know this is the good news show. So for some people, things can be a bit sucky. If that happens, you're allowed to give yourself an hour, couple of hours, a maximum of 1 day to be grumpy and mad and sad and not happy. And then that's it. You've got to be over it. And I've got some examples from out here on the bridge and in the field for you as well.
Okay, well, what are you actually seeing? Have you talked to anyone specifically about this?
Absolutely. There's one middle-aged lady called Helen. Helen's from Milford, and reports are coming in that she threw a massive tanty when her 50th birthday celebration planned for this Saturday has been cancelled. Now, those reports are from her husband, Simon, and their daughter, Liv, and apparently it was the biggest tanty.
And what's she done? Has she moved on from that?
That is the good news. That is the good news, Grant. She had the tanty. She threw the paddy. She got sad and mad and bad. But today is a new day. She has moved on. That's the 1 day sulking rule. Have your sulk, get over it, move on. And that's the good news.
That's great news, Louise. Thank you. Okay. What we're seeing there, I think, is a really good example of acceptance, commitment, therapy in action. We see people getting fused to their thoughts and feelings. We're all going to have negative thoughts and feelings. That's part of being a human. The trick is at some point to not be fused to them, to create a situation called diffusion. We're not trying to delete or even do anything about those negative thoughts and feelings. What we're trying to do is take positive action towards something valued in our life. And so we call those towards moves. So I think you heard there, Helen, she's moving on. She's now doing something more constructive. That's a towards move. If she had dwelt on that and lay in bed all day worrying about a 50th birthday, that's an away move. Okay, so that's time to go on to the weather. Well, as we do the weather report, as you know, because this is a good news show, is all about the fact that there's always a probability of fine weather. But we should announce amongst the weather that there's other good news. In New Zealand, it's 4 weeks on Sunday until daylight savings starts. And in Australia, because they're a week behind us, it's 5 weeks until they start. So good news, daylight savings is coming. There's always some more daylight and opportunity, especially in the evenings, to engage in being outside and doing more things. The weather in New Zealand, some chance of it being fine. There's always a chance. Actually, the chance is bloody small come out because it looks like it's going to rain, but it doesn't matter if it's raining because you're going to get out there anyway. Forecast for the whole of Australia except for Tasmania, where there's also some chance of rain, is fine weather with no chance of rain. Remember, wherever you are, the sky is always blue behind the grey clouds. Grey clouds, bad weather comes and goes, but there's always some blue sky. That's the good news for tonight. Good night.